If something were to happen and you had to be self-sufficient for 3 months, could you? Hey everyone, Morgan here. Let's go ahead and dive in to how we can prepare to be as self-reliant as possible for 3 months, okay? 3 months seems like an arbitrary number, but when it really comes down to it, I don't want you to be prepared for 3 days. I don't want you to be prepared for 3 weeks. I don't want you to be prepared for 30 days. I want you to be prepared for a solid 3 months, because honestly, when it comes to a lot of natural disasters and things can take weeks or months to get back on track. And I don't want you being in a situation that is leaving you at a detriment, okay? I want you to be prepared and I want you to be as self-reliant as possible. But hold on, be sure to download my free guide on how you can get prepared so that you can be self-reliant for 3 months. It is a free download, link down below in the description. Go get it. Okay, let's go move on. Let's go is what I was trying to say. And then I go move on. It's my new saying, go move on. So first of all, let's go ahead and assess your needs, okay? And your current needs and resources. So what are your needs, right? Your needs are water. Your needs are food. Your needs are going to be hygiene. Your needs are heat and cooling. Your needs are what happens every single day, right? So, my needs are glasses. I need to be able to see, right? So I have plenty of backups of glasses. It's just these little things that we need to think about, okay? Do I have plenty of toothpaste? Can I make toothpaste? All these things, right? How long does it take you to go through a bar of soap? Okay, now you can calculate, all right, I have 10 bars of soap. This will last me, 10 months or, 1 month or however much soap you use. Go through that and calculate out your needs. You can start looking at that now. Okay, well, what does my family eat? How much do we consume? How much canned foods do we consume on a weekly basis? How much fruit and vegetables do we consume? How much rice do we consume? You can start calculating that now. Every time you make a meal, say, okay, I'm using 1 cup of rice today. I'm using, 2 cups of pasta the next day. I'm using this meat, whatever it is. Go ahead and calculate those needs of what you are doing every single day. So from Sunday to Saturday, start calculating it out. What did I do on Sunday? What did we do on Monday? I took a shower. How much water does that need? Et cetera, okay? I also want you to inventory your current resources. How much canned foods do you have? What dry goods do you have? What other supplies do you have that would be helpful? Power banks, a generator, anything that is going to be able to help you during those 3 months. Go ahead and do the ammo and the hygiene and all this stuff that will be helpful to you in a 3-month period. When you are calculating your needs, calculate your food and water requirements. Water will be more difficult for sure, okay? But I want you to calculate it. I've done videos about this in the past, but let me really quickly just lay down what calculating looks like. Let's say you have a family of 4 and you want to make rice 3 times a week. Well, that 3 times a week takes 1 cup each. So you use 3 cups a week. Now you need to calculate how many cups comes in like a 50-pound bag of rice. A 50-pound bag of rice could last you a solid 3 months if you're only using like 3 cups of rice a week. I don't want you to drastically change your menu just because it's an emergency or disaster. I want you to try to regulate and make it look as regular as possible, as normal as possible, okay? The meals that you cook every day, figure out how could I make this in the apocalypse, right? How can I make this to be self-reliant in that 3-month period, okay? Make your menu plan. So I've said this time and time again, make your menu plan for what a menu of emergency foods or just a week of foods using emergency supplies would look like to you. And you're going to see holes in this menu. Say you want to make cheese enchiladas. Okay, well, how are you going to make that if your electric oven isn't working? Okay, and how are you going to make that if you don't have fresh cheese? How are you going to make these things? You can plan for this. You can get a little tiny a little solar, not a solar, you can get a solar oven, but you could also get a Coleman oven that goes on top of the Coleman, and you can bake in there, right? You can bake inside of a Dutch oven. There's so many ways to make things, cast iron and all these things without having our modern everyday things, but it's just something you'll have to keep in mind. So you will want the everyday and short-term food. You will also want your long-term food storage, like the rice and the dried goods. You will also want to start growing your own food. Even for that 3 months, you can grow hydroponically, just on like a little countertop. You could have herbs, you could have lettuce, you can grow carrots in a bucket indoors with grow lights, that kind of thing. And if we're at this point, we're not even talking about no electricity, but I want you to plan for no electricity. I want you to plan to have alternative sources of energy or not relying on those energy sources at all. That's where we're coming up to next. Power sources, a generator, solar panels, the power banks, extra batteries. What do you have and what do you want to power? Okay, what do you want to power? Do you want to make sure your freezer stays on all the time? Do you have solar panels to be able to charge your solar power banks? Do you have a generator? Do you have plenty of fuel for 3 months? How much fuel does your generator take? How long would you need to run your generator to run your freezer? These kinds of things, okay? Do these tests now. And it seems like a lot of work, but really all you got to do is just plug your freezer into that generator. What do you have? The solar generator, your gas generator, whatever it is, right? Just plug it in and then see how long it takes, okay? Just do that for like a couple days. And you also don't have to keep your freezer or fridge plugged into that source 100% of the time. You can plug it in for maybe 2 hours. I would say 2 hours just to make sure it gets cold and stays cold. And then you can unplug it for 2 hours. Or we were plugging in and plugging out it was a 4 and 4. We kept it plugged in for 4, we unplugged it for 4. So it was when we lived off grid and, whatever. So we had a freezer that was plugged in for, a few hours, and then it was unplugged for a few hours, and it would go back and forth. And that's totally fine as long as you have your freezer or fridge packed of stuff. And a really good way to do that is to actually fill old bottled waters, gallon jugs with water, put those in the freezer, make sure everything is nice and full and compact so that it stays cooler longer. You also want, rechargeable stuff. Batteries are great. Batteries are expensive. Let me just say this, like the disposable batteries, we all know they're expensive. So I try to really go on the rechargeable side of things. I am in an area that has lots of sun, so I am very blessed, I guess, to be able to have the access to sun to be able to easily recharge stuff. So I would definitely think about that for your area. You may need a gas generator and use that to recharge stuff. We had a Honda generator that we had to use to charge our off-grid batteries in Alaska because there just wasn't enough sun to work with the panels, that kind of thing. And it was cold, and that affects batteries, that kind of thing. So it's a whole thing that we have to think about for our area and our needs, okay? As you're going through this PDF that I hope you've downloaded by now, you are realizing that you need to do a few steps, right? When you are going through these steps, make realistic goals. Say, okay, I am going to make sure that our family is prepared for 2 weeks. And then up that to 1 month. And then up that to a month and a half. And then do 2 months, 2.5 months, 3 months, etc. Inventory and write this stuff down that you are doing to make sure that your family can be as self-reliant as possible for a 3-month period. So the next one is going to be health and hygiene, stocking up on medical supplies, whatever you might need. Medications are a really big one, especially over-the-counter, yes, over-the-counter is important, but especially prescription medications. This is we're going through drug shortages, but not only that, if you have prescription meds, talk to your insurance as well as your doctor to try to get a 3-month supply. Prescription and over-the-counter medications are totally fine for 3 months, okay? And you can use them, right? So you're using the prescription. Let's say you have a 3-month supply. You're going to use that first one. Then you're going to use that second one. And then on that last one, you're going to get another 3 months supply, et cetera, et cetera. So you can just tell your doctor, listen, I just want to make sure I have plenty on hand. That's it. It's kind of, you can be honest, say, I want this for an emergency purpose because, I may be traveling or whatever, and I want to make sure that I have these medications on hand. You can also do something like Jace Medical, where they provide you, your prescription drugs, as well as they have like antibiotics, emergency antibiotics and things like that. They have it for kids as well as adults. So definitely look into that as well. They have lots of different options for prescription medications, as well as you should be stocking up on over-the-counter medications. This stuff can last a while, but definitely, rotate and make sure you have the best stuff on hand, the best up-to-date stuff on hand. First aid knowledge and first aid skills, hygiene and sanitation practices. So when it comes to hygiene and sanitation, one thing that happened to us recently is that our toilets were not working and our water was just shut off. It was a whole thing. I'm going to have to explain that later. But here's the thing. I didn't want to waste precious water on filling the back of my toilet just so I could flush it. I mean, that's just, I had to use 2 gallons in order to make an actual flush. And there are higher efficiency ones where it only use a gallon. Oh, only a gallon? That gallon could have been my drinking water for the day, right? So I think it's a complete waste of water to pour water, like a fresh gallon of water, even if it's rainwater. I think it's just a complete waste to pour it in the back. I think general toilets are a complete waste of water anyway. And I love compost toilets, bucket toilets. I've done a video about that. Composting toilets. These are things you really seriously want to look into, and so that you're not using a precious resource like water to, just flush a toilet. So part of health is mental health and stress management. So whatever is happening during this 3 month that you have to be self-sufficient. And when I mean self-sufficient is in you're not going to the grocery store. You are not going to be going to the gas station. You are basically going to be at home. Maybe you do have to go to and from work or whatever, or maybe you are still having to work or whatever the case may be, but you are not relying on outside sources. You are only relying on your preps. This is what I mean by trying to be self-reliant for 3 months, okay? Your mental health will really be strained, okay? So have plenty of board games, have video games, right? Have family time, have lots of books, have journals, have whatever's going to make you guys happy, crafts, whatever you can do for your mental health. Learn to just exercise, and exercising is huge for my mental health personally. But get a couple like dumbbells or barbells or something you can do, or, just if you can afford a treadmill, or just like run around your house or whatever. Okay. Like it's not even that big of a deal. Like people make exercising like such a big deal. Like don't just like run around your house, like get moving, put on some music and just dance, right? Go crazy. But your mental health and stress management are extremely important parts of your general health and well-being. So security and safety is the next one. I'm trying to get through this as fast as I possibly can, trying not to make this video too long. Security and safety, home measures, personal defense and safety skills, fire safety and emergency evacuation plans. These are all things you need to have on hand, because even though we are trying to be as self-reliant as possible, that doesn't mean accidents don't happen. Where's your fire extinguishers? Are they up to date? Do you know how to put out a grease fire? What are your home security measures? Do you have, the window alarms on your windows? Do you have proper locks? Do you have your kick plates? Do you have, all these things that can help you keep your home secure? What type of home defense options do you have? And that'll all be covered in that PDF as well as what are your evacuation plans in general. So what evacuation plans do you have? If something were to happen in that 3 months, what are you going to do? Do you have your bug out bags? Do you have your evacuation plans? And I have another free guide about bugging out. If you put that link down below, click that link rather. I put the link, you click it. So click that link down below on bugging out and properly bugging out for you and your area. And where are you going to evacuate to? What would ever force you from your home to begin with, right? That's where your emergency evacuation plans come in. So the next one's communication and information. You need radios, first of all. Don't go without radios, whether it's just a walkie-talkie, a NOAA weather radio, a ham radio, a GMRS, CB. Honestly, at this point, I don't care. I just want you to have some radios so that you can at least hear the information that's coming in from your local people. Okay, sometimes the information that's coming from your local sources will be more valuable than a national source, because you're not over there 10 states away, right? You're here. You're in this community. So what are people saying and doing, and how is it going in this area that you are in, this 30-mile radius, the 60-mile radius of whatever is happening around you? Information is power, and I cannot stress this enough. You need to stay informed about what is going on, especially if you're planning to be self-sufficient for 3 months. Obviously, something has happened to make it to where you're like, okay, I got to be self-sufficient for 3 months. A lot of people, who live in really cold areas, have to be self-sufficient for like 6 months because they just are snowed in. They literally can't go anywhere, or whatever the case may be. These are things that happen, okay? What do you think people used to do in the past? They used to, when they would get all their canned goods and everything, they would prep all during summer so that during the winter, because there was less food and less, whatever resources during the winter, of course, they would be prepared for those winter months. So that's kind of what I want you to think about when you're thinking about being self-sufficient for 3 months or more. And speaking of, though, the community and being informed, I just want you to be more active in your community. Find those local sources of eggs and meat and your local people. Get to know your neighbors a little bit, right? Like, we know several neighbors on our block, not all of them, but we know a good enough amount that we can rely on them and they can rely on us. We're not BFFs or anything. They don't know we're preppers or anything like that. But, we're cool with each other, and we learn more about each other all the time. We hang out, our kids hang out, all this stuff. So I live in an urban area, okay? It's like a suburb, but it's an urban area, and it's, I don't live out in the country, but no matter where you live, you can go make friends with some of your neighbors. Not all of them. So, you're not going to want to make friends with all your neighbors, but, a lot of them. Have allies on your side. So, of course, skills and knowledge. You got to have the books. You got to have the skills. You got to have the knowledge on what to do. Because when it comes to self-sufficiency, there's skills you're going to want to know, like cooking, repairing. What happens if something were to go wrong, like the leaks here, or like, your sewage is backing up, or like, something's wrong with your car, or you just got to do like a basic oil change in your car. Do you know how to do these things? Figure it out. Like, we live in the age of technology. Go ahead and start searching things online, print stuff, get books, learn new skills. There are just so many classes and things that are available everywhere, online and in person. There's just kind of no excuses for us to not learn things these days. You're here on YouTube watching this, watching my other videos and the videos of all the other people in the prepper community. You're learning skills, and I want you to go out there and practice those skills. If you've never cooked over a fire, well, guess what? Now's the time to do that. Go learn how to cook over a fire. You will be very surprised at the differences of cooking over a stovetop and cooking over a fire. Even if you have propane, a propane fire is not the same as a wildfire it's not a wildfire, but it's a different flame. A flame is not a flame is not a flame. They're all different flames. So learn to build up your reference library and learn skills and actually practice those skills. 2 last things. Stick with me here. 2 last things. The first one is financial preparedness. So even though you are wanting to be self-sufficient for 3 months, that doesn't generally mean that your bills are going to go away, right? Are you or are you not going to be working during those 3 months? Maybe you want to be self-sufficient for 3 months because you're scared that you may be let go from your job, or there is no security in jobs anymore. I don't care what position you hold. There's no job security, okay? You could be, unless you own, actually, even if you own the company, your business could struggle, right? And what are you going to do? Are you saving? Are you out of debt? These are just extremely important things that people just don't think about. It's like, do I have a 3-month supply, or do I have a 3-month saving supply? Not a lot of us do, especially in this time where we're just struggling to get by from day to day, right? With grocery bills being so high and all this. But this is why we want to focus on financial preparedness. You want to get out of that debt. You want to try to save money so that if you are out of a job, and while you're trying to look for another job, which in this market can sometimes take months, unless you want to work at McDonald's, then you can find a job right away, right? But nothing's beneath me. If I really needed a job and, I couldn't find one, I'd go be working at McDonald's, It may not pay all my bills, but at least, help with something. But getting out of debt is probably one of the biggest things you really want to do right now. You can prep and save and get out of debt all at the same time, but maybe you want to prioritize one over the other. So if you are in severe debt, prioritize getting out of debt, and then prioritize saving, and then maybe prioritize bigger preps after that. But in the meantime, you can still prep. You can still get like canned foods and water and things like that while you are getting out of debt and saving and all that. So the last one is practice and drills, okay? I want you to practice any drills that you may need. If you ever need to leave your house for whatever reason, bugging out, right? A fire drill. I want you to run situational awareness drills. I want you to run just general lights out drills. So if the lights were to go out, how long, could you last without lights? What are you going to do during that time? A weekend lights out is a pretty fun thing to do. You know what we've done for a weekend lights out? We just go camping. Like, camping is like the best way to test preps, to test your mental fortitude, to just test not having general electricity, unless you were going in an RV and get hooked up and stuff like that. But I'm talking about, tent camping or even boondock camping or anything like that where you don't have that kind of electricity, unless you were to have solar, right? Take a solar bank with you, right? But there's nothing wrong with that, right? You're being prepared. I have another post down below in which it talks about all types of drills that you can run with your family. So thank you all so much for watching. This is a little bit longer than normal. I hope you stuck with me. Be sure to download all the stuff down below in the description that you should be downloading, right? The emergency disaster plan, this 3 months to self-sufficiency, and everything else that goes along with all of this. I want you to go download it. I want you to go watch the rest of my videos on how to stock up on water and food and all these things. Way more details in that guide that you should download for free. Thank you all so much for watching. Conquer tomorrow. By preparing today. I'll talk to you later. Bye.